Hey, what is going on, guys? This is SMEB Reviews, and it's time to take a look at the newest studio album from Taylor Swift, Reputation. Let's get to it. As I'm sure you guessed if you saw my Look What You Made Me Do single video, I'm not a huge fan of the style she's taking, and really the style she's taking is just trying to be trendy and follow trends that every artist is trying to do right now, and that really is awful because Taylor Swift is an artist that I really thoroughly enjoy. I've liked her past stuff, maybe not every song, but I do like a lot of it. And it's really sad to see her continue to just try to follow the trends, and she's really just lost all of her artistic identity because all she really cares about now is her reputation, not her music or what she's saying with her music. It's all about what she is. She's now just this icon in quotation marks because she's not really like setting any role models or anything. She's trying to be this played up character and just fill a character that the media is wanting her to fill. And really, I appreciate some of the music on this album, but it's really hard to get into the majority of it just because so much of it is focused on that and it's just following trends instead of her trying to set her own. And ultimately, there's no detail when she's trying to talk about this reputation. For anyone that's not following her pop culture presence and what she's doing personally, she gives no details into it in her music. It's all vague. I mean, we have a song, I did something bad, and that's about as general as it can be, and that's about as detailed as the album gets. We never really get details on it, so unless you're following her in pop culture, then you have no idea what's going on. And an album where you're trying to evoke pity because you've been targeted and you just have this awful reputation, you've got to be specific because how can anyone pity you when you're as vague as she is? She doesn't give any details in this album, which is really unfortunate because, yes, there's probably been some things that she's been wronged in many circumstances, and there's a lot of things that happen with her in the media, and it's really unfortunate. Whether they're true or not, it's still unfortunate that most of her career's been defamed because of it, but yet she's trying to take that and turn it around and make it good. And obviously she's still popular. When I say defamed, I don't mean like she does. There is no like she could not be famous anymore. She's still going to be very famous, but she's using what she had left in her artistic identity and integrity to just make music that's general, and she's wanting to evoke pity and wanting to be the good person in the situation. But when you listen to it, unless you are just a die-hard Taylor Swift fan, you're not going to take her side probably just because she's so general. She doesn't tell why she got wronged or how she's been hurt or anything. There's nothing about that. All it is here's what I'm going to do, or this is what happened, but extremely vague. And that's the biggest problem, honestly. I have a lot of problems with other elements, but that is a huge problem. An album that's trying to get people to sympathize with you with no detail it's a detriment to the album, and it really does hurt this album. But if we want to just talk about the music, how is it? Okay, some of the songs are actually really good. Getaway Car probably is one of the best tracks off the album, and I'd honestly argue that it's one of her best tracks ever. Not her best, but one of. It is really actually a good song. It's a pop song. I'm not saying it's incredibly deep or meaningful or anything, but it is actually very interesting, and I do enjoy it, and that had the help of Jack Antonoff, who we will touch on later. But that is an extremely good track, but then the majority of the other tracks, there are a couple that are not, this is not the case, but a lot of tracks just have very simple trap beats behind it, and they sound very cheap, something that could be made with very cheap production, and it doesn't really give much depth. Some songs, if they don't have those trap beats that are just dominating the instrumentation of the songs, it's weird synthesizers. It's really strange, but I can give some examples with Did Something Bad. During the chorus, it just, the vocals and the synthesizer is really fighting. She's trying to sing, but it's so cluttered with the synthesizer's pulsing sound that it's really hard to listen to. But back to the trap beats, honestly, it's really hard to listen to them because they are just often very cheap and sound very reused from other songs. It's not anything really original. I mean, Call It What You Want is a perfect example. The majority of that song's instrumentation is just those trap beats, and it really bogs down the album. It just that makes it seem like so many of these songs were just quickly thrown together, and on top of that, most of these songs honestly feel like filler to me, and those two things together really destroy some of these songs. There are a good handful of songs that are actually very good, but there is also a lot of songs that are just cheap and just feel like filler. My apologies, filler. So Jack Antonoff actually worked with her on a lot of these songs, and it's very noticeable. A lot of his elements are sprinkled in through these songs, and honestly, some of the best songs on the album come from their collaboration. I think they actually have a lot of good chemistry, but also some of the absolute worst. I mean, Look What You Made Me Do, as I've said, is an awful song, and I really don't enjoy it. Call It What You Want, don't enjoy that one. It's a little inoffensive, I guess. If I don't say it's bad, it's just middle of the road. And that's how a lot of these songs are, honestly. But it's not awful, it's just not great. But then we also get songs like Getaway Car and New Year's Day. New Year's Day is an absolutely touching, slow piano ballad, and it's really good. It's very interesting to hear in the midst of all of these songs that were really hard to listen to and filled with those trap beats. It's nice and a little break from it all. But he produced some of the best songs of this album, but he also produced some of the worst. And it's really interesting to see that. But I do think that they had good chemistry together, and I think that his elements probably helped some of the songs. Whether they all went a good direction, that's debatable, but honestly, I think that his artistic sense helped a lot of these songs at least become a little bit better, because regardless, every song that he seems to be involved in at least had something. Whether it was awful or great, it at least had something. Call It What You Want is probably one of the only ones I could just say nothing about, besides it's just got those that cheap trap beats in it. But all the rest are very either really good or really bad. And I guess that's good, because at least it gives something to these songs, something that makes people think, because if it's just middle of the road filler songs, and it's not really that interesting. So at least he did have something to to the songs that he contributed to. This Is Why We Can't Have Nice Things is a very interesting song for me. I honestly think it's extremely lighthearted and fun, and besides the point where Taylor Swift laughs and says, "I can't even say that without laughing," or whatever, it's honestly, it's fun, but still serious enough, and I do enjoy it. That part I could live without the Taylor Swift interrupting the song with the laugh, but I do actually really enjoy the track because it is so fun. Unfortunately, the lyrics just kind of hold it back, and as they do on a lot of songs. I mean, Dress is a song that is decent. I don't love it, but it is decent. And it's a song about how she sings that she bought this dress just so he could take it off, but then later she sings about carving his name into her bedpost. And those seem like very different things. One of them seem very adolescent, and then one of them seem more mature. And the lyrics seem to cause a lot of problems in this album. Now, that's not to say that they're all awful, or at least they're inoffensive enough, and there's just not enough to say about them. And some of the lyrics actually are good. Like I said, Getaway Car is actually pretty good, and just a song about how it's not always good to be trying to get away from things, but she keeps feeling that drive to get back to the getaway car. And I do actually really enjoy some of these songs, and some of them are good enough. And like I said, Getaway Car and New Year's Day, both really good tracks. But there's just so many awkward lyrics, and that's again just another problem with this album. I'd love to say some more positive, and I guess I can just say that Taylor Swift still has a pretty decent voice. I do think she actually sounds pretty good, even on the songs that I don't enjoy or I think are kind of bland. She at least has a decent voice, so I'll give her that. But overall, this album just is pretty middle of the road, only because I've said a lot of negative things, but those are about all I can say. We have a lot of songs that I just could not say anything about. They don't give any reason to listen to again. They're just pretty boring. And honestly, while trying to review this, I have to keep referring to the Spotify to look at the list, just because I don't remember some of these songs until I look at them again. And not because I haven't listened to it enough. I've listened to it a ton of times because I wanted to make this review really as in-depth as I could. But it's just, they just are very forgettable and just completely feel like they were just thrown in there to add an extra song. And for a 15-song album, they should have taken some out. Really, they should have. It seems too cluttered, and it seems like there's too much filler in the album. And so it's really hard to give this a completely negative score, because yes, it does have 2 extremely good songs and one that I kind of liked, and then a couple that I really disliked, but almost all of it, maybe about 10 songs, are just right in the middle, and I can't say much about them. They're just pretty neutral. So I'm going to have to give it a 5 out of 10. Thank you guys so much for watching. What did you guys think of this album? Please tell me down below. Sorry it's a little late, but here it is. It's a really interesting album. I mean, I guess it's an interesting transformation, to say the least. I mean, going from this 80s style sound with 1989 to this more hip hop sound. So it is interesting, and I'm interested, honestly, to see where she'd go next. I'm going to assume it'll just be whatever music's out when she comes out with her next album, but it'll be interesting because we've gone from country to pop to this hip-hop sound, which I guess hip-hop is kind of the pop now. But regardless, it is a very interesting album, just extremely forgettable. But what did you guys think? Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you guys later.